Hey guys, and welcome back to the online learning space. So far for our website, we've planned it all out. We know what colors we're going to use. We have all of our assets, all of our pictures. Now it's actually time to create it in Adobe Muse. So the first thing you need to do is you want to create a new site. When creating a new site, we are going to keep the width 1000. So I'm going to leave the resolution at standard. As for margins, you don't really need any margins, so we can get rid of that. And we can leave everything else out the same. Anyways, let's get started. So once you have entered Adobe Muse like this, here you have your main website page panel. You have a master page, and then you also have your the home pages. Now we're going to create a one page layout, so all of our pages are going to be on this one page. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to create the navigation as well as the footer and the header. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to edit our master layout. So we click on that. So once we've opened up the master page, what we need to do is we need to make it look like this, to have a header at this size, which is 130 pixels, and also to have a footer that is about 100 pixels. And each one of these boxes was 475 pixels. So to do that, we'll create a few new layers. Okay, so the first layer is going to be the header layer. Alright, and we'll do this. So we'll grab the rectangle tool and we'll just draw a box right at the top, and we'll set the height of this box to 130 pixels. Now make sure that you move the header section so that it sits nicely right on that box, and if you need to zoom in, you can always hold Alt and scroll on your mouse until it snaps nicely. There we go, at 130. Now don't worry about the fill we can leave to white, and maybe we can change that later. Now the next layer is the body layer. Okay, so here we're going to have a section which is going to be 475 pixels. So make sure you're in this layer and draw a rectangle, and we're just going to make sure that this is 475, and again zoom in if you have to. 475. Okay, so that means that the footer will start there. Okay, and this bottom of the page we can just move it down, and the last layer, which is going to be the footer, we'll draw another rectangle and we'll just put that in there, and we're gonna change the fill to black, and we are going to make that 100 pixels. Okay, and so I'm just going to move the footer accordingly, move it down a bit till it snaps, and that's it. So now we have 3 separate sections, and they all must be on different layers. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the header layer. So click on this little icon, that green box is all highlighted, and we're going to click on this thing over here which is called pin. This will make sure that the header is always on top of the page. So once we have that, we can now move on to the next phase. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to create our menu up here. So I'm going to be working in the header layer, and I'm going to make sure that that is all highlighted. And now inside of Adobe Muse, we have this widgets library, which already has a lot of things already built for you, and it's pretty simple to use. All it is just a little bit of drag and drop. So what I'm going to have a look at is inside of menus, we want a horizontal menu, and all I'm going to do is drag that out on my page. Now once I've dragged it out on my page, all these options can pop up. So if you've missed that, you can just always go back to this little blue icon and we can change the options. Now we want 4 navigational links. We want home, about us, projects, and contact us. So what we need to do is we need to change the menu type from top level pages to manual, and we're going to start to add 4 of these links. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the text just so I can see it to home. I'm just going to zoom in. Alright, so to change the text you double click on it and then you double click on the actual text. Alright, now if you want to create another one of these links, you click on it, you click inside here until this button pops up, and now we can create the other buttons. So it's going to be home, about us, projects, contact us. Now don't worry about the fonts and things like that because we'll change that later. So to see if this is working now nicely, what we can do is we can have a look at this button over here, which is called preview, and you can now see that when I roll over, these things actually change color. Now they don't do anything right now because we haven't set up any other pages, but we know that the links work fine. We'll come back to that and we'll add a few other things on the menu bar. So while we're still in our master page, we're going to try and make the top logo in the top left hand corner. So what we need to do is we need to first make sure we're on our header layer, okay, and then we need to go and grab our T tool and just draw a box and put our text. Now if you want to edit the text, you can go over here, and what's really cool with the Adobe suite is they have included these web fonts which are all hosted on Adobe servers. So you can actually add these web fonts in here, and if you click on add web fonts, a whole nother page will open up. And I want to just make it all capitals. Now I am going to make it bigger, so I'm just going to increase the size. So once you're happy with your text, all you have to do is grab the logo from the assets file. So all we have to do is just click on the image and then drag it into. So once you have your logo all done nicely, alright, you just want to click this button over here to highlight everything, and you just want to make sure that you click on the pin and so it stays all on the top of your screen. So the next thing to do is to close down the master page, and what we are going to do is we're going to open up the home page. Now we need to create 4 different content boxes that will hold the content for our web page. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a rectangle and we're going to make sure that we're in the body, and we're going to draw a rectangle that will fit that section. Now that's already 475 pixels, so I don't have to do anything. Now I'm just going to pick random colors for now because I'm just going to duplicate this. So I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to just change the color so I know the difference between them. Okay, and I'm going to do that 2 more times. So now you can see the different rectangles, and if you highlight them, you can rename them to the different sections. So that's going to be home, that's going to be about, that's going to be projects, and that's going to be contact. Okay, so once you have your content boxes, we can now fill it with some text. So first thing I'm going to do is go back to my Photoshop document. I'm going to grab my color for the first panel, and I'm also going to grab the text, but firstly I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to click on that, click on the fill, and I'm just going to paste the hex value into there. And so it's the exact same color that was in Photoshop. So next thing is I'm going to grab all the text. So just copy and paste, go back into Muse, press the T tool, and then just draw a box. Okay, and I'm gonna paste the text in. Now here's where you have to be careful with the fonts. You have to make sure that your font styles are consistent. So we're going to create a paragraph styles for this font, and we're gonna have to choose what color we're going to use. So I'm going to keep the font, I'm going to use this font over here, and I'm just going to make the font size a bit bigger, and maybe 20. Now, to create a paragraph style, what you need to do is you need to go over here to paragraph styles, and if you just click new, and then we rename this to main body text. Okay, now every time you have text, all you have to do is click on that, and it will use those same fonts and whatever to create that look. So I'm going to do the same for the heading over here. So I'm going to use the same font, but I'm going to make it a lot bigger, and I'm going to make it all caps. So to make it all caps, you go over to text and you click on this uppercase. Now if you want to change the alignment or anything like that, you can always, highlight, you can change the alignment over here, but I'm going to leave it aligned to the left side. Now the next thing that we have to do is we have to put a picture in this content box. I'm just going to drag my other assets in there. So this was my monitor, and so I'm just going to make it fit in there. Now you want to make sure that these two things are aligned. So you can either do that by grabbing these buttons over here and just making sure that they're aligned, or you can grab the align settings over here and highlight both these things and change the alignment. But anyways, I'm going to move on to the next one. Firstly, I'm just going to create a paragraph style out of this. So I'm just going to call that heading style text. Okay, and so I'm just going to do the same thing again. Back to Photoshop, highlight all of it, back to Muse. I'm just going to keep the same alignment as well. So all I have to do is go back to paragraph styles, change it to that, and also change that to heading. I'm going to grab my About Us image, and I'm just going to try and keep the same alignment, but this one might not fit, so I'm gonna have to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to align it to the right hand side, and I'm just going to change that color as well. So I'm going to grab the eyedropper tool, get the hex value, and then just change it in Adobe Muse. So click on the fill, change that color, and there we have that pink. Now if I click on that little icon over here, you can add this color to your custom swatches. So every time you need those colors, they're already there and you don't need to use the eyedropper tool. But I'm just going to grab the content for now and do the same thing, and then just go back to paragraph styles, the last content box is our contact information. So all we're going to do is we're going to grab something from our widgets panel, and we're going to create a contact form. So I'm just going to copy and paste this information, going to add it down here, and again change the paragraph styles and make sure it looks all neat. Now for the contact form, all you have to do is go to your widgets library, and inside the widgets library you have things which are called forms, and just click on a simple contact and just drag it in to Adobe Muse. Now here, this is where you can put your email, so when someone clicks on that, it will actually email that email address, and if you want to add other fields and things like that, you can. Now again, if you want to change the text, you can go always back to your paragraph styles and you can change the text. And so I've now changed the font to whatever my font was over here. You can change it to whatever you like. So now once we've got our website set up like this, what we need to do is we need to get this navigation bar to work. So to get it to work, you first need to set up some anchor points that will help get to the certain pages. So to do that, if we click on this little anchor icon over here, and I'm just going to put it about here, and this is going to be my about page. So I'm going to grab another one and put it down here, and this is going to be my projects page, and I'm going to put one down here for contact, and finally one right at the top for top. So I'm just going to put that right at the top of the page. Okay, so now once we have our anchors, every time you click on one of these links, it will take you to one of those points on this page. So now let's try that and make that work. So now once we have all the anchors, we need to worry about this menu bar at the top. And so what we're going to do is first we're going to change this default color. So we need to go back to our master page. And once we open our master page, then we can have access to this menu bar. So we're just going to change the design a little bit, and we are going to just make it look a whole lot nicer. If you click over on this side where you have states and you double click on one of these icons, you can see that there are 4 different states: normal, rollover, mouse down, and active. And this basically means what's happening at those times. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of all of these states, or all this fill. So I'm just going to put it to no fill. And now you can't really see the text because the text is gray. So we'll have to change that to black. So to change the text to black, you just need to double click on it. You can go black. And there we go. So what we want to do is on the rollover state, so when you put your mouse over this, I want like a little bar to come up at the bottom. Now this is pretty easy to do. All we need to do is go to stroke. We need to firstly uncheck this, okay? And all I want is a bottom bar. Now as you can see, when I increase the value here, you can see that this is appearing underneath that. If I want to change the color to something a little bit more exciting, I can use a color that's already in my swatches, or I can change it to something completely different. Now, if you're home, or when you actually go on the rollover, if the writing is a little bit higher, to get it all even, all you have to do is take off, edit together. And you can see now, you see how it's really just not straight. To make this a little bit better, all you have to do, like I said, is just click edit together and it will fix up that bar for you. So the last thing is the menu. Now, if you want to change the menu and you want to change some of the text, provided that you've clicked on edit together, then all you have to do is just double click on the text and you can actually select it and change the fonts. Now, if you preview using any of these web fonts, unless you're connected online, then the fonts should appear. But if it's not connected online, then those fonts won't actually appear. So please keep that in mind. Now, the last thing that we need to do for the menu is we need to create the links. There is an option up here which is called hyperlinks, and all you have to do is find the corresponding link or anchor point with that box. So I'm just going to go through and click all of them just like that. So that's projects and that's contact us. Now, the last thing that we're going to do on this page is we're going to add a back to top button. They can always click home, but we're just going to add another button over here. So to create a button, all I'm going to do is grab a rectangle tool and I'm going to fill that with black. Now I'm just going to round the edges a little bit, so I'm just going to click up here and you can see that it's starting to get a little bit more rounded. I'll put it in the header. I'm just going to make sure that that's pinned as well, so I'm just going to pin it over there and I'm just going to put some writing in there. So back to top, and just make sure that writing is in white. Just going to lower the going to create something like that. Now, again, all we have to do is we are going to add a hyperlink to the top of the page, and now we can save that and we can go back to our website page and we can test to see if it actually works. So the testing, we can see that we have that small little button over there, okay, and we can see that it will take us back to the top of the page. Now we can also check if our other links work. Okay, so the links are working, it's just that they're not really on the right position, but that's okay because we will fix that. Okay, so we're going to fix that link, and we're going to go back to our master page, and we're just going to put a state on that. So when you hover over it, it will now change color. So normal is going to be black, but when you roll over, I want it to be the same blue of the menu bar. So what you want to end up with is you want to end up with a button that will change color when it's highlighted over, and it will take you back up to the top. Now, if the button can't change or it doesn't change colors, then you have to go back into your master design. You have to group both the box and the text, and if you click on group, it will then apply both settings to that group. So we want to have on the rollover state, you know, for that, we want to make sure that it's got a blue little undertone like that. So anyways, the next step is we need to get the positioning right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a play around with some of the anchor points, and we're going to just keep testing until we try to get the links working to, you know, getting the page, you know, right. So we're going to go back to our normal web page. And what we're going to do is we're going to just make sure I'm pressing down on the keyboard. I'm just going to zoom in so we can see it. So I'm just going to make sure that they're on the lines. Okay, and if you click and drag, they kind of snap. So just click and drag all the anchor points until they are all, you know, snapped. Now the top one, you don't have to touch the top one, but once we are done, what we're going to do is we're going to hold Control. Okay, so, or we're going to hold Shift so that all of the anchor points are highlighted. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold Shift and press up on the keyboard. Now we're going to do that 5 times, but for your projects it may be a little bit different. So it's all about testing and experimenting. So now I'm going to preview that and I'm going to see if it makes a difference. So I know I need to go up a little bit more. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to increase those by another, let's say 2, and see if that makes it any better. Alright, so a little bit more, maybe even another 2. So it's just trial and error until you get it absolutely right. So that's pretty good, that one. The next one is pretty good as well. And finally, the contact page, that's pretty good too. So all my links work and everything goes down to the right page and the whole website is, you know, going back to normal. And that's really what I want. The final thing is I just want to add a footer at the bottom. And that's pretty simple. All you have to do is go back to your master page and you can just grab some T tool and you can just write whatever it is you need to write. It's going to change the font color to white, and I'm just going to change the font to something that we've used before. So just going to increase that size and make it all caps. So I'm just going to grab my information from my Photoshop document. Just make sure when dealing with the footer, we want to make sure that it's in the right layer. And so we're going to put it onto our footer layer. And any other text that you're going to write, just make sure that it's on the footer layer. So I'm just going to change that font. So once you're done with the footer, you can go back to your home page and make sure that everything is working as expected. So the links work and the footer is there at the bottom. Now, once everything is working as expected, the last thing that you need to do is export the site. So to export the site, what we have to do is you have to go to File and you have to go to Export as HTML. Now when you do this, it will now create a HTML version of your website. And so now what we have is a HTML version of that website, which we can upload and we can do whatever we want with. As you can see, all of the scrolling works fine. Our footer is at the bottom. Our link back to the top works pretty good. And then we have it. So this is a basic way of getting a website created in Adobe Muse. There are whole lots of other features that you can have a look at, like animations and scroll effects and doing different kinds of things that will pop in, slide out, adding sounds, videos, things like that. But so anyways guys, that is how to create a simple website using Adobe Muse. Better websites will incorporate better use of graphics, different kinds of scrolling animations and things like that. Anyways, thanks for watching and see you next time.